Over the last wee while, and I have always been interested, as you know, in child abuse. It's something that I took an interested in, I guess, and when I was working at Radio Live, and I don't know what set me off in particular, but it was probably the murder of a young girl who was a playing companion of my daughter. And they attended the same childcare centre together and played together. In fact, the little girl, the little Maori girl, lovely, beautiful little child, would greet me every day as I dropped Lucy off at the childcare centre. She was later to be raped and murdered by her stepfather. And I think I'd taken an issue in the issue from a professional point of view anyhow. But I don't know, I think it was probably even before that, is when you have children, I think you become sensitive to the idea that children of your own are being mistreated and abused. And so for the last 20 years, it would have been, I guess, I've taken a professional political interest in child abuse in this country. And one of the things that I've noticed is that both genders seem equally guilty of abuse in this country, and of the most horrific abuse, that it is not all one gender. But something that's been happening relatively recently, and I guess it's started to raise itself because it seems so extraordinary. And it's on both sides of the Tasman, I might add too, in Australia and New Zealand, so I can't comment on what it's like in other Western countries, is the rise of young professional women, many of them teachers or in the teaching profession, primary teachers in particular, but as a cause celeb, just remember at Marlborough Boys College as well, of a secondary school teacher, where women teachers are using and misusing their authority to abuse and sexually young boys under their charge. And the most recent one of those was as recently as this week, where an Auckland primary school teacher who sent sexually explicit nude selfies to an 11-year-old student and then also got him into one place and started kissing him on the lips. She was more than 20 years his junior, the little 11-year-old boy, has for some strange reason been sentenced to home detention. The woman in her 30s with a family of her own admitted to charges of grooming a young person for sexual conduct and doing an indecent act on a boy under 12. An interim suppression order currently prevents her name or identifying details from being published, although that may not continue. But she's the latest in what seem a growing number of such cases before our courts. You expect most, in cases like this, the offender to be male and the victim to be female, or male-male. But this female-male conduct has become quite extraordinary. And so we've gone to have a chat to somebody who'll know or perhaps appreciate something of the background, because I certainly don't get it. And that is Maeva Grzes, who is a psychologist working in the fields of mental health, trauma and criminal justice for over 8 years, and she joins us now. Maeva, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, Greece, I've got that. Have I got your pronunciation correct?
Oh, it's Grace, but I think you won't be the first or the last.
No, I probably won't. Just for those of you at home, it's Grzes. Is that Polish?
Yeah, it is actually my father. Yeah, yeah, background isn't from Poland,
Yeah. No, I went
but I'm
to.
French.
Oh, you're French, but oh, I see. Your
Yeah,
surname is after your Polish father. It's just I went to school with somebody who had Z's like that, and he was Polish, so that's the only
yeah.
reason I asked.
That's
Okay,
a good guess.
Maeva. Well, I'll call you Maeva. So let's carry on. Listen,
Sounds
Maeva, thank you
perfect.
for joining us on this one. You would have heard my introduction here, and it seems extraordinary, but there have been a number of cases now of young women, well, 20s and 30s, young to me anyhow, who seem to be taking advantage of their particular positions to sexually abuse kids. And it seems to have become more prominent. Is it only that it's being reported or that it is becoming more prominent in your view?
I think it is more about it being reported.
Mm.
I guess if you look at it historically as well, until 2005, at least in New Zealand, there was not even the possibility of charging a woman from sexual abuse against children.
Oh,
Um, so that's something to consider. And I think there is also a real strong sense for boys or even adult male who are sexually abused by women, where there is shame present and the idea of reporting it or even understanding that it is sexual abuse is actually not as known. And maybe people are starting to talk about it more and more. I can tell you that in my practice, for instance, and in my colleagues' practice, we have seen many cases, and not solely teachers and students.
so this is of women abusing young boys or young teenagers. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and sometimes adults, it's more rare, but yeah.
So, what you're saying is that it's always been there in your view. It's just more prominent because male victims in particular feel more confident about reporting that kind of abuse. Is that correct?
Yeah, I honestly think so. I think people are starting to talk more about their story. I still think it's very underreported, if I'm completely honest, when I
Mm.
still talk in my assessments to certain, boys in their first sexual experience. And there is probably that understanding and where people, and especially boys, where they think that they were lucky if they had such an experience with a woman, and therefore this is not something that they should complain about, as an example. Um, so yeah, I think it's slowly starting to rise, although I honestly think that we've got little understanding at this stage of how many boys have actually been sexually abused.
The case that I've just introduced you to that happened this week, the young woman who, as you know, has got a family, I think that has split up now. I think I read something about that. Her husband's left her or her partner or anything. But nonetheless, there's a family involved. In another more prominent case in Marlborough, there was also a family involved. I think her husband was a policeman from memory. Can you just explain to me what the motivation of these women in these circumstances would be? Is it sexual or is there something gone deeply emotionally wrong with them? Or both?
Well, that's really tricky without assessing a person directly because I guess there are different kind of typologies for a motivation to sexually offend, especially with women. Um, I think they can absolutely be women who are sexually attracted to children and boys. They can be women actually that they feel like there is difficulties in their relationship. There are difficult loads of, I don't know, there could be mental health difficulties. There could be difficulties in terms of their relationship. And there is a sense of strong bond with some of the boys. I think I want to maybe go and take a wider approach, in which, in this case, we're talking about teachers versus their student. But if we're thinking about actually sexual offending in the context of a woman being the sexual abuser, we need to think about that also can happen in families, in terms of their own children and boys, in terms of affection, in terms of feeling that sense of connection. Um, so I feel like I can't answer directly your questions because it can be much, much broader and much different depending on the situation.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but there's a part of me that just doesn't understand the grooming of 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds from
Yeah.
women in authority who are primary school teachers in their 20s and 30s. Um, if you're going to have a relationship, you would tend to have a relationship, or if you're going to have an affair, you tend to have an affair with someone your own age, or perhaps a little younger or a little older. Why the fixation upon youth and children?